Hello and welcome to PGurus channel. I'm your host Sri Iyer. This is not often that I get to see my good friend Yogi Chugh. Yogi, first off, you've been on PGurus channel. Welcome to PGurus channel.
It's a pleasure to be here, Sri. Big fan of your program.
Thank you so much. It means a lot to me because there are a lot of things that we discuss that we can't say. But at the same time, Yogi helps me get a proper perspective about where American politics are headed. So Yogi, one safe question that I can ask you is to look on the other side of the aisle. There is a very promising candidate from the Republican side, Vivek Ramaswamy.
Yes.
And he's making some shocking statements. For example, he says, I want to abolish Department of Education. I want to have term limits for many of the officers in the government who work in the government, a lot of that stuff. Tell me what you think. Right now he's polling 5%,
yes.
Right? So let's keep it that aside. What are your thoughts and where do you think he's headed?
That's a great question. More than the 5%, and the fact that he's a third to DeSantis and Trump is probably a significant news. But what is more exciting, he's gotten 60,000 donors, which qualifies him to be on the debate stage. Vivek Ramaswamy is articulate.
Ramaswamy.
Vivek is articulate. Once in a generation, running from a Republican Party, he's running a beautiful campaign. And that beautiful campaign that I think he's running is he's speaking to the questions that are front and center to the primary voters, not the general. So he is straddling a conversation about America, which I think is important in the frustration that goes on. And what he's tapped into is tapping into that Trump sentiment of voters who may not always agree with President Trump, but love the fact that he's renegade, out-of-the-box politician, not politically correct, willing to take the tough challenges. So Vivek's conversation about the rhetoric is what I think is on America's mind, at least in the Republican Party. Brilliant, wealthy, and he's demonstrated that money has not been an issue for him. He's run a couple of companies, and he is extremely well educated. It's amazing how he is so well read, well thought. It's like he compartmentalizes things and he says it. I just wish sometimes his conversations would be a minute short, because that's, I think, where he begins to lose people a little bit. But fascinating. But you know what I'm more excited about? I'm more excited about the fact that he's normalizing a Hindu American to run in American politics. 𝙒𝙖𝙩𝙬 Gabbard tried. She made some progress. I think it was a historic moment. She rose to a point where she may not have won, but she helped destroy a couple of other campaigns. Now, there are many other Indian American candidates who are running, but Vivek has so succinctly and so articulately talked about the fact that his Hindu faith in a nation that was born under Judean Christian principles has a right to compete and win the heart and soul and the minds of voters who agree with him on policy positions. That's what excites me about Vivek. As a Republican, I find it hard, but I do swell with pride, saying only in this country can somebody like Vivek come back and get to a point of relevancy.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And viewers, by the way, he says he is a Republican, but I think he is more like a middle of the road, just like I am. See, we see and appreciate the goodness in any candidate, for example. But one thing that I wanted to touch upon, these days, Obama bashing has become the norm. Yeah. But one of the things that you and I have to agree is the Obamacare, how it has benefited the economically weaker sections of the society in the United States. Viewers, you probably don't know this. Anybody who is making an annual income, that is a family income of $95,000 or less, they get a lot more insurance medical coverage now. So this was something that Obama drafted, I think, in the first term.
He did in the first term. And frankly, I'll tell you, if you really talk about progressives, right, I draw the distinction between progressive versus the new concept of wokeism. I believe in the Democratic Party. There is a struggle for the very existence of the party. There are certain elements who believe that the atrocities done by the top 5% has left 95% behind, and if we don't uplift the 95%, America will come to a point where it will not be the nation that it has. So if you really look at progressive values, I think the word progressive has really been kind of ostracized in a way where it's seen as a bad word. Frank,
Just like nationalism is.
nationalism too, and it's nationalism in any part of the world is abhorred by except a certain fringe whose existence is based upon ensuring that front and center we put the interest of a nation first and foremost. You know, and really the Democratic Party and the Republican Party are both struggling with this. I look at the fight between DeSantis and I look at the antidote from Gavin Newsom. It seems to be a debate about ideology and strategy, but I think most American voters are right in the middle. They can be progressive in certain issues, such as income inequality is real. We worry about the future of our children. I believe the very idea of losing jobs because manufacturing has gone overseas is a dilemma. But on the other hand, I think we need to be very strong on public safety. We need to be strong about the foreign policy we dictate. And I think that as a nation, whether you're Republican or you're conservatives, I think there's an agreement that our foreign policy must be based upon a strong foundation of human rights. I think there's conformity on that. What happens in the Defense Department, what happens in our social lives, the debate about abortion or others, those will always happen. But I believe that progressives versus socialists versus wokeism is where the Democratic Party has to help identify the party of the future. And I think President Biden has done it really, really well. He's given a space to the progressives and the squad to articulate the issues that they want. But I think he's drawn the distinction between rhetoric will get you nowhere, compromise will get you somewhere. In the end, it's all about forging coalitions to win the most significant office in the nation, which is the United States presidency. That's where we have to focus on.
Thank you so much. Viewers, you have a task. By way of comments, please let us know if you would like Yogi to be back on our channel to discuss issues. We're now heading towards elections in the United States. See, in United States, elections start about 12, 15 months before. Primaries on. Because like he said, some of the issues that Vivek Ramaswamy, who is a Republican, has articulated affects all of us. Now, the question is how much of a resonance that's going to have in the candidates moving forward. Believe me, I think he's setting the narrative right now for the primaries. Your thoughts, and then we can conclude.
I think he is absolutely setting the narrative. What Vivek is demonstrating is that government has to be meritocracy. It has to attract our best and our brightest. There's a Vivek, there's a legion of Indian American candidates who I believe are going to rise to the occasion and a decade from today are going to be a defining voice in American politics. With the ones that we have right now, I think they're straddling their path very delicately to get to a point where they're taken seriously. But I believe the American voter today is looking for somebody who can bring the freshness of ideas, is willing to rock the boat, because there is such a frustration today with government. The question that is often asked is that why do we not have simple solutions to complex problems? If we did what we did in politics and our jobs, we get fired. But we get away with it because we just cater to certain constituencies of people that deliver the assurance that you will win. So you know what politics has now become? You're going to piss people off, but which base of people are you going to piss off more that's going to cost you? I always draw the analogy to the Indian American vote. I often draw the analogy to the Hindu American vote. We haven't built the critical mass yet to make a difference. But there is now a greater attention to us because we finally realize that if we do not get involved in politics, the articulation of issues and the narrative will continue to be built in a way that will be counterproductive to us. So the choice is, do we engage now or do we play catch-up? And there's always a saying, in a sprint, if somebody goes headstrong, the chance of catching up are possible, but it's a whole lot harder. Now is the time. Raise your voice, get involved. As simple things as paying attention, going and talking to your mayor, your council members, your supervisors, your member of Congress, and just letting them know that you exist, and be bold about the fact that I represent maybe 300 people in my neighborhood, my community, and I just want to make sure that you can answer the question so I can go articulate. That's the critical mass you build. You cannot expect one-day impact, like a Mars, India, right? The rocket that just went into the sky. It wasn't something just happened 2 months ago. It was years in the making. But that's what politics is all about. I can get wordsmith. People come back and say, you say a lot of words, but what does it mean? If there's one message I can give to your listeners, never give hope in the potential of the political process. Engagement, activism, inspiring is half the game. Inspire a generation of people to believe in the fact that they can make a difference. And I have seen that when communities mobilize, oh my God, it is pure magic. And it's unstoppable. That's when you become relevant in the American immigrant story.
Thank you so much, Yogi. And yes, viewers, you can make a difference. Like Yogi says, it's time we started looking at what our politicians are doing for us and what they could do for us.